Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Daily Gwei Refuel, where we recap the latest news in the Ethereum ecosystem. I'm your host, Anthony Sassano, and it's the 13th of October, 2022. Alright everyone, let's get into it. So a huge bit of news over the last 24 hours. It was announced that Offchain Labs, the company behind Arbitrum, is acquiring Prysmatic Labs, which is the company that has been building the Prysm client, the Prysm consensus layer client, which I'm sure you're all familiar with. Now, obviously, this is big news for a number of different reasons. There are lots of implications here. I have a lot of thoughts here, so I want to jump right into it. So firstly, congratulations to both of the teams here. I think that, I mean, honestly, in terms of synergies here, there's so many. Arbitrum has been scaling Ethereum for such a long time. They have so much things in the pipeline right now. And their Arbitrum 1 network is growing. The Arbitrum Nova network is growing. It's just, they're having a lot of great growth happening there. And then on the PryLabs side of things, I mean, they have the most used consensus client, right? They just went through the merge. They've been working at this stuff for so long now. I think it's about 4 years or something like that. So just a crazy bit of news here and a crazy good outcome, I think, for both of these teams. Now, the first take I want to kind of dive into is maybe one of, I wouldn't consider it negative, but more of a neutral stance here. Some people brought up concerns about Arbitrum being a layer 2, purchasing a layer 1 team, so to speak, right? And any kind of, I guess, negatives around credible neutrality that could bring up. And I totally get that. Like, I can see that. But I think you have to contextualize these things. There were concerns around Ethereum governance as a whole, saying, oh, is this just Arbitrum buying their way into Ethereum governance? And it's like, okay, well, no. I mean, Ethereum governance is more than the client teams. And even still, the Prysm client is totally open source. PryLabs isn't just some team that came along and has only been around for like 3 months and all of a sudden they're part of Arbitrum now. There's a lot of context here. So the top two things that I wanted to talk about was, one, the PryLabs team has been around for a long time. And for those of you who don't know the history here, they started building their Prysm client when it wasn't even clear what quote-unquote ETH2 would be. And it wasn't even clear what proof of stake would be on Ethereum. And Preston Van Loon, one of the co-founders, actually left his job at Google, a very well-paying job at Google, to work on this thing, and obviously took a pretty big pay cut because there wasn't much funding back then, and funding for core development has always been a bit of a struggle there. So these guys have been building for a very long time. They have been just absolutely phenomenal as well, as both builders and as people that participate in the Ethereum governance process. And there is literally no reason to suspect that they would do anything different going forward just because they're under the umbrella of Offchain Labs. If anything, they're basically in the same position that they were prior to this, but now they have pretty much guaranteed funding, I would suspect, which is awesome, right? But I can see the other side of it where it's like, okay, well, what if a company that wasn't Offchain Labs came along and purchased or acquired one of these teams and then told them to do something not necessarily nefarious, but do something that benefited them exclusively? And I can see that happening, right? I can see that happening sometime in the future. But this is why we have client diversity. This is why we aren't just one Ethereum client. This is why we don't just have Geth and that's it, right? We have so many different clients. This is one of the reasons, because we don't want any one team to be captured. We don't want any one team to have centralization power around Ethereum core development. So that is another reason why we have client diversity. And I've talked about client diversity a lot in the past. Secondly here, I think when you look at the Ethereum governance process, you can't just look at the clients. I mean, the client teams are only one piece of the puzzle of the Ethereum governance process, I should say. It involves everyone in the community. And I've discussed this before, but just to rehash here, some of the parties, some of the, I guess, stakeholders that are part of the Ethereum governance process include community members like you and I. Of course, it includes the client teams. It includes the researchers who may or may not be part of the client teams. It includes the app developers. It includes layer 2s as well, right? It includes exchanges. It includes infrastructure providers. I'm already up to like 6 or 7 stakeholders, and there are more than that. Obviously, stakers are another one. ETH holders generally another one. So that all of those stakeholders come together to form the Ethereum governance process, to form the Ethereum social layer. So it's not just the client teams that can push things in. Now, of course, not every party has equal weight as opposed to other ones. I would say that there are definitely stakeholders that have more say and their voice has more weight than others, but it's not like they are dictators. It's not like they have the final say. They don't. And for example, if PryLabs or any other client team was to do something nefarious or do something that went against the will of the community, then people would just stop using their client, and people may just fork their client and continue it on as it was before the drama happened, so to speak. So there's a lot of checks and balances here. There's a lot of different things at play, and there's a lot of context here. And I don't really appreciate the people who are trying to frame this as a negative, because at the end of the day, like there are, there's all the things I just mentioned, but on top of that, you have to basically understand that this stuff's going to happen, and we've prepared for it. Essentially, we've prepared for it with client diversity. We've prepared for it with having a really strong social layer with Ethereum, and I think that it's fine from that perspective. So that's I guess like that was just addressing the negative takes that I saw. But in terms of positive takes, as I said, this pretty much guarantees funding for PryLabs for a long time. They're going to be fine now. They're going to keep building their client, their Prysm client. They're going to work with Arbitrum. If I had to guess, they're probably going to build a client for Arbitrum 1. So Arbitrum 1 has client diversity, sort of like what Optimism is doing as well. So that's obviously very cool. And there's probably a bunch of other things in the works as well there. But I can't stress enough how excited I am for these two teams to be teaming up. Arbitrum and PryLabs are two of my favorite teams in this ecosystem. And as I said, there's a ton of synergies here. So congrats to them again on this. But I'm going to move on to the next bit of news, which is just as big, I would say. So another person or persons are suing the Treasury Department over the OFAC Tornado Cash sanctions. So you can see here that Coin Center is supporting David Hoffman from Bankless in his lawsuit against the Treasury Department, against Janet Yellen at the Treasury Department, over the fact that he was dusted on from Tornado Cash to his public address, which is davidhoffman.eth, and he's basically saying, he doesn't want to waste his time filing reports saying that he's not a criminal because he just got dusted by Tornado Cash. So David Hoffman versus Janet Yellen, let's dance. This is so based. I mean, holy shit, guys. Like, I love this sort of shit because this is the cypherpunk movement. This is not like your usual kind of thing that you'll see a lot of people doing, but this is part of the cypherpunk movement. And there's only a select people that will do this. Not everyone would do this. And honestly, I'm a bit sad because I'm not a US citizen and I can't do this. I mean, maybe there's in some roundabout way I could do this, but I don't think so. I'm not actually sure on the legal side of these things. But if I was a US citizen, I would definitely be doing this. Like, as I said, it's based as hell. It's part of the cypherpunk movement, and it's exactly what we want to see in this ecosystem from the people within it. And honestly, I wasn't even surprised when I saw that David had done this, because this is the kind of person David is. If you know David, if you have listened to him on Bankless, if you've seen him talk about a bunch of different topics, you know exactly what kind of person he is. And he's a very, very good friend of mine, so I know him quite well. And yeah, I wasn't surprised at all by this, but still very excited, because this is the second lawsuit that's come out of the Ethereum community. The other one I spoke about maybe a month ago now, the one that Coinbase is backing. Well, now Coin Center is backing this one against the Treasury Department here. So just awesome. I don't really have much else to say other than that it's really awesome that this is happening. Who knows if David is going to win or not? Who knows if the Coinbase one is going to end in in a positive thing or not? We'll have to see. Obviously, the wheels of justice, so to speak, turn slowly. They don't move fast like crypto does. But still, this is what we want to see. We want to fight back. Like, we can't just let these people steamroll over us. Like, I've been talking about, and I'm actually going to talk about this in a sec, but the MEV stuff that's happening with the relays, some of them censoring, and the DeFi apps censoring on their front ends and stuff like that. Like, that's just rolling over and going above and beyond what's required. And it was disgusting to see play out. So I'm very happy that we still have a lot of people in this ecosystem that are happy to put their public image towards a lawsuit against the US government, right, in favor, in the name of what they believe in. So all the people that are doing this are based as hell. They are true cypherpunks, and they really are the flag bearers of this industry at this point. Like, I just love it. And as I said, like, the only negative here is that I'm not a US citizen, that I can't do something like this. I would love to do something like this, but yeah, it is what it is. Anyway, I guess kudos to David and Coin Center for doing this. You can actually donate to Coin Center at coincenter.eth in order to support this and other causes that Coin Center works on. They're very awesome, I guess, like, so to speak. They do a lot of stuff on the regulatory side for crypto, and the fact that they're bankrolling this or supporting this lawsuit against the Treasury Department is really, really cool to see as well. All right, some update on, actually, no, I'm going to go over this in a sec. I wanted to update you guys on the CFTC Ooki DAO drama. So the DeFi Education Fund Twitter account tweeted out this update today saying that a federal judge accepted DeFi Education Fund's amicus brief and ordered CFTC to respond to their motion to reconsider the judge's ruling that the CFTC's service was valid. TLDR, good news. Next response deadline for the CFTC is November 7th. So this is cool. I mean, the judge has sided with DeFi Education Fund here, which is great to see, but that's the latest on this. As I've talked about before, this lawsuit or this CFTC action against Ooki DAO is going to have pretty big implications for all the DAOs within the ecosystem. So it's good to see that we have someone fighting back here, and that the wheels are moving here on this one as well. But yeah, I'll update you guys on November 7th. All right, so Jacek here from, I believe he works on the Nimbus client, tweeted out a big milestone today saying that the Nimbus Lite proxy can now run as a backend for MetaMask, validating data from third-party providers like Alchemy against the Beacon Chain consensus. How does it work? You run a Superlight node on your computer that forwards requests to a third-party provider of your choice. MetaMask connects to the node, and the node forwards to provider, asking for data and cryptographic proof. A proof is then checked against Beacon Chain consensus using the Lite client Beacon Chain protocol, the same protocol that drives the Nimbus Lite consensus client. TLDR, this is, I guess, the first iteration of a Lite client that you can run today that basically checks against a platform like Infura or Alchemy, like a third-party provider that you use in MetaMask, in order to verify that it's all well and good and that you can basically have cryptographic guarantees that the node that you're talking to is actually the real chain and the real canonical chain. So very cool to see this. Nimbus have actually been working on light Ethereum clients for a very long time. Their consensus layer client is trying to be as light as possible, but in terms of like resource requirements, but like an actual light client they've been working on for quite a while. So very awesome to see this. I'll link the tweet in the YouTube description. You can go check out basically the links that are linked here. All right, so some MEV updates. So MEVwatch.info got some updates today. So they've heard the feedback and launched 3 new features. They're giving us access to deep insights, and the situation, unfortunately, might be worse than we thought. Currently, 50% of ETH blocks are enforcing OFAC censorship and increasing. So there's a chart here that you can show that you can see if it's the trend of the OFAC blocks here. You can use the time frame toggles to see up to the minute data. You can visualize the status of the last 100 blocks as they come in real time as well. So cool new features on MEVwatch.info, which you can go check out for yourself at that website. And I like the trend feature. I like these little charts here. It's giving us more data around this. Now, if you look at this, you may be looking at it being like, wow, okay, like it's just gonna eventually end up at some high percentage of OFAC compliant blocks. And to be honest, I mean, the trend is going that way, which really, really sucks because right now, 88% of relayed blocks are enforcing OFAC compliance, which means only 12% aren't. And 4 out of 7 of the relays are enforcing censorship. So just really, really shitty. But there was this thread from Elias Simos here, who runs the Rated Web website, which added some much needed, I guess, nuance and context around this. So he put some data together, and he has these first charts here saying, so far, blocks with transactions that involve addresses in the OFAC list represent only 0.617% of the post-merge block mass. So very small percentage of total blocks include those. The crushing majority of these blocks pack one non-compliant transaction. The sum of these transactions represents only 0.0025% of the post-merge transaction mass, 1,200 transactions in total. All major validating entities, such as ladder operators, Coinbase, and Binance, have produced blocks with transactions to and from the OFAC list addresses commensurate with to their network penetration. With MEV relay blocks now representing 50% of the block mass and flashbots for fifths of that, OFAC list transactions have a 40% chance of not being included in the next block. But to put this in perspective, the probabilities of that transaction getting included by the nth block are: in the first block is a 60% chance, second block 84%, third 93.6%, fourth 97.5%, and fifth 99%. What is acceptable is really quite subjective, but from a practical point of view, Ethereum as a whole is not censoring. So this is, I'm going to pause here for a sec. I've talked about this before, about how with inclusion censorship, it's actually not as bad as it's made out to be. Because, as you can see here, as Elias states, like, I mean, blocks come in every 12 seconds. At worst, you would have to wait probably like 5 blocks, right? So 5 times 12, you would have to wait a minute, essentially, to get your transaction included rather than 12 seconds. But you can still get it included. And this is obviously at 50%, or I guess like 40%, 50% of the block, of the blocks enforcing censorship here. And as that goes up, obviously you require more blocks to get in, but it's not very long at all because of the way the percentages work, because of the way the block production works. You can still get your transactions in, which I think is the key point here. Now, as Elias says here, what is acceptable is subjective, but I think that there is some kind of objective metrics we can look at. For example, if, 50% of the blocks were blocking Uniswap-related transactions, well, that would severely degrade performance of the Ethereum network as a whole, because the Ethereum network as a whole relies on Uniswap. Well, at least DeFi as an ecosystem on Ethereum relies on Uniswap. So it would significantly degrade user performance and user experience. That would be a really, really big issue. That would be something that would be kind of like an, oh shit, we need to do something about this now. But in terms of this, right, in terms of the Tornado Cash transactions, they're only affecting a very small percentage of people now, because of the fact that that chilling effect that I spoke about is actually working. So as Elias says here, the flip side to all of this is that the OFAC list transactions are down 80% since the Tornado Cash inclusion. If you 4 times the number of OFAC transactions, then the probabilities of not getting included become a lot more sensational. So it's obvious that sanctions are working, but it's also really not clear that it is because of what's happening at the base layer. So again, like, it just really does depend. It is subjective. It really just does depend on what's getting censored here. Now, in an ideal world, we don't want anything to be censored, and we're working towards that future with things like PBS, with things like CR lists, and a bunch of other things that are obviously coming in the pipeline. But for now, it's not an existential risk. It obviously erodes some of Ethereum's credible neutrality, but at the end of the day, this can happen on any network, on proof of stake or proof of work. It doesn't matter. Any network that allows validators and miners to see the contents of a transaction and also order the transactions in a block, and choose to censor or not censor them in a block as well, choose to include them or not include them in a block. That's the crux of the issue. If we had base layer privacy for everything on Ethereum, then this wouldn't be an issue. If we had privacy up until the transaction was included in a block, we wouldn't have this issue, right, with inclusion censorship. If we had PBS and CR lists already, we probably wouldn't have this issue. I mean, it's not 100% fixed, but it gets us pretty close. So taking all that together, you have to add the context here, and the context makes it a lot less worse than what it is, but it's still pretty shitty. And I'm still counting on, or hopefully, Flashbot's shutting down their relayer, and if they can't offer censorship resistance on their relayer, maybe they will, maybe they won't, I don't know. Again, I've said this before, I don't think we should be relying on that, because that's an altruistic endeavor. It's not something that we should be relying on as a network, as a community, because we want to resist nation states. And as we know, like, nation states aren't altruistic. Like, they're not just going to do something because the community is telling them to do it, right? So we have to consider that as well. But I'll link this thread in the YouTube description. You can check it out from Elias. I thought it was some much needed context and much needed data around all the censorship stuff. All right, so Argent has put out a great thread, and they started this thread by saying, Vitalik says that account abstraction is not something we've always wanted, and that it is something that we've always wanted, and that it has for a long time been a dream of the Ethereum developer community. But why have attempts to introduce account abstraction to Ethereum layer 1 struggled to be implemented? Let us explain. You can go give this thread a read. I'll link it in the YouTube description below. But for those of you who don't know what account abstraction is, the simplest way to explain it is that there's 2 account types on Ethereum right now. There is a EOA, which is an externally owned account, which is a normal Ethereum address that you and I use. And then there is a smart contract account, which, I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory, right? The point of account abstraction is to, from a developer point of view and from a user point of view, make these things basically the same. So that that doesn't have to be so there doesn't have to be that separation between the two, which comes with it a bunch of nice features. And the features are described by Argent in this thread. So you can go check out this thread. I'll link it in the YouTube description, but I just wanted to highlight that for you guys. All right, so Uniswap has refreshed their front end. So the same Uniswap you know and love, now with more token data, discovery, and search options, so you can swap easier than ever before. The Uniswap front end doesn't get updated that often, and I think that's done on purpose because so many people use it. But when they do update it, they add some nice features to it. Yes, they're not groundbreaking features, they're not anything that anyone's going to get super excited about, but they still add features that people are going to use, which I really, really enjoy. So, I mean, you can go check these out if you haven't yet at the Uniswap app.uniswap.org website here, which I'll link in the YouTube description below. But yeah, I guess good on Uniswap for continuing to add features to their front end here. All right, so Push Protocol has announced the launch of Push Chat. The Push Chat Alpha brings Web3 native secure wallet-to-wallet messaging to everyday users. What's Push Chat? What's the alpha? How do you join? Let's dive in. And there's a thread here with everything that it is and a teaser video as well that you can check out for yourself, which I'll obviously link this in the YouTube description below. I want to make a comment here broadly about, I guess, like wallet-to-wallet messaging, wallet-to-wallet chat. This has become a trend lately. Obviously, I've been covering Etherscan's implementation of it. There's a bunch of other ones out there that have been around for a little while. Now there's Push Chat. I mean, this is a trend and this is something of a no-brainer, right? Being able to do wallet-to-wallet communication. But I worry that these things fragment like we have with chat apps. Like think of all the Web 2 chat apps that we have today. We have Messenger, we have WhatsApp, we have iMessage, which in and of itself can be considered a chat app because it's not SMS, right? We have SMS, we have Telegram, we have Signal. There's so many of these things. Yes, we make it work, but I mean, like I have accounts on all these things because people prefer different things. And I think it's kind of funny how the same thing seems to be happening with crypto, even though it doesn't have to. You could just have a protocol on Ethereum that people can use essentially as I guess like a nexus, so to speak, and then build front ends on top of that. But it seems that each one of these projects seems to be developing their own protocol around it, which may end up being gated to their own community. And I get why they're doing this because you want to control the user flow a lot of the time. But yeah, we're going to have to see how that consolidates over time. But what shared between these things is your account, basically, because it's using your wallet. Your wallet is on Ethereum. Everything in that wallet is on Ethereum, so that's shared across these different apps. But your chat history, your contacts, this app-specific features won't be shared across these apps or protocols, so to speak. But at least some of it is. So it is a step above of what we get with Web 2 today. But yeah. Anyway, congrats to Push Protocol for launching this. I know they've been working on it for a little while here. You can check out their thread describing it. I'll link it in the YouTube description below. All right, so there is a product called Sol Wallet that I came across today, and they basically have built something at ETH Global in ETH Bogota here, which is the future of the Ethereum wallet is here. We provide a new way to explore Ethereum ERC 4337 compatible. So you can check it out here. The reason why this caught my eye is because it's ERC 4337 compatible, which is a new wallet standard that Vitalik has also been talking about. And it's not an EIP, it's an ERC, so it doesn't require a hard fork or anything like that. But this project, Sol Wallet, uses this standard to enable users to create, use, and perform social recovery for smart contract wallets through plugin extensions and mobile applications. And you can check out the rest of the description here. I'll link it in the YouTube description. And there's also a live demo of how this works as well. I wonder if I can quickly do a live demo on here. No, this is the video. So yeah, there's a video. It's about a 4-minute video you can go check out, and the source code's also available here. But yeah, go check out Sol Wallet if you haven't already. As I said, this caught my eye because of that ERC 4337 compatibility, which basically it has got a lot to do with social recovery for smart contract wallets, similar to what Argent's been doing. I think that's a big theme going forward because social recovery, I mean, when it comes to wallets, obviously there's no central party that you can go to say, hey, I forgot my password to my wallet, or I forgot my seed phrase to my wallet. Can you give it to me? Because obviously you don't want to be storing your seed phrase online, and seed phrases in general are just bad UX. So what can we do? We can do stuff like social recovery, and that's what's being worked on, as I said, by Argent and now by Sol Wallet here. So definitely go check this out. I'll link it in the YouTube description below. All right, so there's an ENS update here at alpha.ens.domain. So Tatem said here, don't tell anyone, but you can try the new alpha app updates on Görli, featuring a sick avatar uploader. So as I said, you can go to alpha.ens.domains and you can search. So if I'm going to connect my wallet here. If I connect my wallet, this is my Sassel.eth wallet, of course. I can check out, this is on Görli, I had to switch network there. I can check out a bunch of different things on here. So if I go to my names, is it going to pop up? Maybe actually no, because my name is on mainnet, not on Görli. What was I thinking? I don't know whose name is actually on here. Maybe ens.eth. Maybe I can search that because that's probably on here. Yeah, so this is a nice little interface. This is what they've been working on for quite a while to manage your ENS names. As I said, it's live on Görli right now. This is not mainnet, but you can see here, this would be the profile picture on the left here if they had one set. This is the address. This is the address on Ethereum, the manager, the owner. Just a much better looking interface than what we're used to on mainnet. So very cool to see this. Very cool to see that we can play around with this. But as the name implies, it's still in alpha. So expect bugs, expect things not to work, as they should on mainnet. But yeah, you can go check this out. I'll link it in the YouTube description below. All right, so this new protocol or project announced itself yesterday called Aera. I think that's how you say it. It's A-E-R-A. I don't know, Aera? Maybe Aera, which is they're calling themselves the world's first autonomous data-driven treasury management protocol. Aera will provide DAOs with a one-stop solution for managing their token reserves efficiently and transparently. So you can go check out their introductory blog post here to see what it's all about and how it all works, and there's nice little graphics here and everything. But DAO treasury management has been a thing for a while, has been a theme for a while. There has been other attempts at, making it easier for DAOs to manage their treasuries before, but I can't remember the names of them right now, and I'm pretty sure I've covered some of them on the Refuel before, but essentially, this is a new one. I can't remember who the team members are exactly. I remember seeing some familiar names like Tarun Chitra, who's been around for quite a while. I don't know if he's actually part of the team or maybe just an advisor or something, but I saw him talking about it. And there's a few others as well. I don't think the team is on the website. You can go check this out. Apparently, you'll be able to hedge risk to grow safely, as I say here, which you can do with your treasury management protocol on Aera here. You can dive deeper into it and check everything there is to check about it on their website at aera.finance, but I'll also link it in the YouTube description below for you to check out. All right, sorry I'm stumbling tonight, guys. I'm just trying to get through everything. There was a lot to get through today. But anyway, last up here is just a blog post that I wanted to highlight from Pseudotheos about PBFs. So this was done by Pseudotheos and Domothy. Domothy, as some of you will know, is a frequent Daily Gwei Discord contributor. Basically, this blog post is called PBS Neutralising the Dark Forest. Now, I've talked about PBS on the Refuel a lot of times before. Maybe you still have no idea what it is because I don't really go into it every time on the Refuel because I don't want to repeat myself. Well, you should give this blog post a read because it will explain to you exactly what it is, how it works, how it's going to help us with censorship and everything around that. So I'll link this in the YouTube description below for you to check out. It's a great read. Highly recommend reading it. I've already read it, of course. I really enjoyed it. It definitely refreshed my knowledge about PBS and gave me a bit of a different perspective on what I'm used to as well. So I'll link this in the YouTube description and you can go check it out. But I think that's going to be it for today now. So thank you everyone for listening and watching. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the newsletter, join the Discord channel, and I'll catch you all tomorrow. Thanks everyone.